when a dielectric slab is placed inside the capacitor plate, then on the surface you are getting the right. So now tell whether the although the electric field is here in this direction E, in this direction it is E prime. So there is a net field because of induced charge created on the surface, right. But do you think that the dielectric material is only having that much of surface charge or any other charge is also available inside it? Because any charge can contribute to the field, right. Any charge can contribute to the field. So net field in this arrangement is only affected by the surface charge or other charges present inside the dielectric. No charge is there inside the dielectric, net charge is 0 means for dielectric slab it is 0, but still there is surface charge and they are distinguished negative and positive. So what about the rest charge other than the surface charge? The surface charge are bound charge or free charge? Yes, but what about any other free charge is there? Surface charge are bound by the plate potential, right. But other than the bound charges on the surface, is there any other charge inside the dielectric or not? It must be there, right. If it is dielectric, ions are available, electrons are also available. In case of metals, electrons are also available. So what about those charges, whether they create the field or not? They will also create the field. Whenever there is any charge, it will create the field, but we have considered only for the charges which are bound, right. The surface charge is bound charge and E prime which we have considered here is due to only that bound charge. But what about the free charge? Free charges are also there and field is also there because of that free charge. So the charge density, if you think about this arrangement, is consisting of how many parts? Charge density, both free and bound charges are there, right. Then it must be combination of both bound charge plus free. You cannot neglect that free charge, that also creates the magnetic field, electric field. So you can never avoid that kind of field. Then now tell, if you apply the Gauss law to this arrangement, consider a Gaussian surface, apply it to calculate the field, then what is the net field? Calculate now. There are two kinds of charge density, both free as well as bound, right. So when then now what will you write? The Gauss equation for that kind of arrangement, how can you write that? Epsilon 0 then del times E, right, will be equal to how much? Rho, total charge density. I am taken is epsilon 0 here, right. The Gauss law tells divergence of the electric field must be equal to charge density time divided by epsilon 0, but here epsilon 0 is there. So epsilon 0 times the divergence will be equal to the charge density. Then now if you know, then what this charge density is? It is bound charge density plus this is the bound charge density, this is rho and that is equal to what? Rho B plus rho F, free charge density as well as this bound charge density. So then now how can you write this expression now in terms of polarization? Now the polarization is concerned with bound charge or free charge. Whatever polarization is there in the dielectric is due to free charge or bound charge? Polarization. Polarization only bound, never free. Then how it is a free charge unless it is a dipole, right. So bound charge is the dipoles concerned there, but there are still free charges and the free charges are never responsible for the polarization. Polarization is only for the dipoles, right. So then now in terms of polarization, how can you write this charge density? How much it will be? Polarization means what? It concerns about the number of dipoles polarized or independent. Per unit volume it is polarization. How many dipoles are polarized per unit volume is the polarization, right. So then now this charge density is nothing but the minus of the divergence of this into that polarization, right. Del B, rho B, charge density which is a scalar quantity and divergence of that polarization is the same scalar quantity rho B, bound charge only. But other than that you are also having plus rho F, free charge density. So then now how can you write this expression? What will be now? If you take this to other side, how will you write that? What is your P? This P vector, polarization vector is how much? How will you write the polarization vector? Or even if you keep it as it is as P, then how can you write the divergence now? if you take this minus term to this side, then how much you will get? Divergence of what? E plus P, actually it is epsilon 0 E, epsilon 0 E plus P, right, because epsilon 0 is only multiplied here. So, if you take it this side and take the divergence of both, then it will be epsilon 0 E, this is epsilon 0 E plus P, divergence of this term is equal to how much? Free charge density, right. The free charge density is how much now? This much or not? So, then what do you mean by this free charge density? Charges are free or not? Free, right. So, this is scalar quantity or vector quantity? Charge density. Scalar quantity. Divergence of a vector must be a scalar. Then what is this quantity? That must be a vector, and that vector is the displacement current, right. This vector is this is called as the electric displacement, that you call as the electric displacement D, this bracketed term, right. So, then what this D is? Del dot D vector is equal to this, and that D vector is the electric displacement, because it is a vector, right. Otherwise, divergence of the vector only can be a scalar, and this charge density is scalar. So, that must be a vector, and that vector is named as the electric displacement D, right. So, you need not forget about the free charge present here, right. The free charges are there and they have contribution to the electric field, total electric field in this arrangement. That is why this term is coming D, right. Then now, if you think about what do you mean by you know about now dielectric. So, now let us say I will tell what will be your polarization. How can you write this polarization? It depends on what? Is it dependent on field strength or not? First, if the strength of the field applied is more, obviously polarization is more. That means it must be proportional to E, right, proportional to E. Then it must be replaced by a constant, and that constant can be written as epsilon 0 chi times E, then E, right. Then you can tell there is a one constant that is called a susceptibility of the dielectric media, susceptibility. This chi E is the susceptibility, right. Then why you are introducing this new constant epsilon 0? Otherwise, both the sides are not dimensionally same, right. It is a dimensionless constant. If you not multiply by this epsilon 0, it will not be dimensionless, right. So, that constant is now this k is epsilon 0 times the susceptibility. This susceptibility is a quantity which is reciprocal of the dimension of epsilon 0, that is the permittivity of free space. Permittivity and susceptibility are opposite to each other. Dimensionally, unity wise, they are just inverse, right. So, every material must have a susceptibility. Then now, if I will write P polarization is equal to epsilon 0 times chi times E, then this is valid for any dielectric material, right, or there is any difference. This polarization we have considered for what? Dielectric material only, and the polarization is proportional to E, and that proportionality constant is epsilon 0 times chi E, that chi is the susceptibility, but multiplied by this epsilon 0, because this should be a dimensionless quantity, that constant should be dimensionless, otherwise the equation cannot be dimensionally correct, right. So, then now if any dielectric follows this equation, then that kind of dielectric is a linear dielectric, right. If it follows this equation, then only you can tell that that kind of dielectric is a linear dielectric. If it is not following that equation, a dielectric, non-linear dielectric. Dielectrics are of two kinds, one is linear, other one is non-linear. If linear, it must follow this equation, right. Polarization must be equal to this. So, that is why it is called as a linear dielectric. So, if the dielectric is not following that equation, then you can tell it is non-linear. So, that is the difference between linear and non-linear dielectrics. Then now you can write this P or D, suppose you will write now D, then D equal to how much? You know it, epsilon 0 E plus P. Now put the value of P and simplify it. You know now what is P? Let us take a linear dielectric, then put the value of P and simplify that equation. What will be your D then? It is nothing but equal to epsilon 0 times 1 plus psi E multiplied by E, or not, because you know P equal to this epsilon 0 times psi E, chi E multiplied by E, electric field. So, this D, the electric displacement, can also be written in this form. epsilon 0 into 1 plus susceptibility times electric field, right. So, then now what is this quantity now? Now you can write epsilon 0 d is equal to how much? You know what is your displacement current? In general you can write it as E times E, right. But that what is this E? Permittivity. Permittivity means again it is multiplication of permittivity of the free space into permittivity of the medium, right. Permittivity of free space, because this E is nothing but equal to epsilon 0 times epsilon r. So, then if I will write now d is equal to epsilon 0 E, which is equal to epsilon 0 times 1 plus psi E times E, then what is the value of your what is this then? It is nothing but equal to this or not? What is epsilon r? Correct. Epsilon r is nothing but equal to 1 plus susceptibility. Remember it. The relative permittivity epsilon r, that is also called as the dielectric constant, same thing, of the medium. So, the dielectric constant of the medium is nothing but equal to 1 plus susceptibility of that medium. So, if you know the susceptibility, you can tell the dielectric constant or relative permittivity, or if you know the relative permittivity also, you can have to know the susceptibility. They are related by this relation, and this epsilon r is nothing but your K, dielectric constant of the medium, same thing. So, any dielectric material is having dielectric constant, you can write in terms of susceptibility of that dielectric medium by this relation. 1 plus susceptibility is the relative permittivity, right. Then now if you will tell, then what is this ER actually? From this relation, if you find out how much you are getting, if from this relation you tell what is this epsilon r? It is nothing but equal to epsilon by epsilon 0, that is why it is relative permittivity or not. From this relation, epsilon by epsilon 0 is how much? This thing 1 plus chi E, and what is epsilon by epsilon 0? That is the relative permittivity or the dielectric constant. So, the dielectric constant is nothing but equal to 1 plus susceptibility of that dielectric material, but it is only for linear dielectrics, that follows this equation, right. If it is non-linear, it may not be true, but for linear it must be, and you know when it is a linear dielectric, if that equation is followed. The polarization is equal to epsilon 0 times susceptibility multiplied by the electric field, right. So, these are all about the electrostatics. Then we will proceed for the magnetostatics, right. So, now then when you are going for magnetostatic, what do you mean by then magnetostatic first? Like electrostatics, the phenomena associated with the electric charge at rest, everything we discussed here is relevant to that. That is why it is electrostatics, right. Similarly, when you are telling it is magnetostatics, then what does it mean? If there is a magnet, then only you can tell that the magnet should be at rest, but magnetostatics is only relevant to a magnet or any other thing situation also. A current carrying conductor is also a magnet, right. If there is steady current in a conductor, that can also be treated as a magnet, right, but that magnet is also a rest or moving. Rest means what? Fixed. The magnetic field created due to a steady current in a conductor is relevant to magnetostatics or magnetodynamics. Magnetodynamics means magnetic field should travel, move. So, when there is a current carrying conductor, let us say this is I current, then magnetic field is created around it, right. The directions are in this direction, right hand thumb will tell in what direction the magnetic field is around it, right. If the current is in this direction, just to reverse it, this is the direction of the current. If it is like this, this is the direction. So, this is the direction of the magnetic field created around a current carrying conductor, right. So, then now when you see when the charges are at rest and here is another source test charge, then you are finding the net force on this charge by all these charges and then take the vector sum to find out the net force acting on this test charge due to the group of charges, right. But if this type of charge is not at rest, but they are moving, that constitute a current, right. If these charges are moving in a conductor, then it will constitute a current, right. Now, no more it is electrostatics, because they are not at rest. These charges are not at rest, but they are moving, and that constitute the current. And when there is current in a conductor, it creates a magnetic field, and that field is also not variable with time, right, because the rate of flow of charge is current, it is constant, that is a steady current, right. So long as there is steady current, the field will never change with time. Then what kind of magnetic field it is? Static magnetic field. If you take a magnet, suppose it is a north pole and south pole, then what kind of field you are getting? This is north, this is south. Then field is there, it comes like that, right. It goes in this way, north to south, but inside south to north. They are closed loops. Magnetic field lines are closed loops, but electric field lines are open, right. If you are taking positive charge and negative charge, electric charge, then what are the lines of forces? It goes from plus, ends in minus. They are open curves, but magnetic field lines are not open, they are all the time closed. There is a difference between magnetic field and electric field, right. So, similarly, here also you are getting the field from north to south outside, but inside it is from south to north. That is why you are getting the magnetic movement from south to north, right. Inside the magnet you are having a lines of force, they are gathered together, and that constitutes the magnetic movement, which is equal to how much? Pole strength into magnetic length, which is a vector quantity from south to north, that is why it is a vector. So, the magnetic moment M is nothing but equal to pole strength times the length of the magnet, vector length of the magnet, not only length, vector length. That vector means it should be from south to north only, direction must be from south to north, because field lines are going in that way inside the magnet, right. So, then now if you take, now tell, if you take a magnet, then what kind of field is created? It is static or dynamic? Dynamic means varies with time, static means not varying with time. Then if you are putting a magnet, magnetic field is created, what kind of field it is? It is static or dynamic? Static. Same thing happens here or not, right. Here is magnetic field, there is also magnetic field, but this magnetic field is due to electric current, no static electricity. Charges are not at rest, but when they will move, there is current, and that constitutes also a magnetic field which is static, right. So, magnetostatics deals with both the situations, either a magnet is there, the field is static, or there is a steady current flowing in a conductor. The field created there is also deals with the magnetostatics, because the field is static, it is not varying with time, right. So, then now if you think about what about an atom? Atom is magnetic or non-magnetic? All the elements present in the periodic table are possessing magnetic behavior, or some are and not all, because the origin is ultimately from the atomic level, right. If you are telling iron is a magnetic substance, origin is at the atomic level of the iron. All the magnetic substances, may it be diamagnetic, paramagnetic, ferromagnetic, whatever it may be, but all are originated from the atomic level. Then now tell why you are telling the magnetic behavior is associated with an atom, from where that property is coming, magnetic property. Magnetic property means there should be two poles, otherwise it cannot be a magnet. Like electric dipole means they may be there, may not be there. You can isolate the charges, positive and negative charge, but you can never isolate the magnetic poles, right. Electric charges can be isolated. You can take individually positive charge and negative charge, or if you want you can create the dipole, but you cannot create monopole in magnet, right. Single pole cannot be isolated. You will never get single north pole or single south pole. If there is south pole, there must be north pole. If there is north pole, there must be south pole. They always occur in pairs. So, the electric field is created by isolated charge, but the magnetic field is never created by isolated pole. It must be by a magnet having two poles. Magnet is always dipole, right. Magnet is always dipole. There is no question of isolated single pole for a magnet. If there is a magnet, it must have two poles, north and south, right. Then now if you come to the atomic level, if this is an atom with the nucleus and the electrons are moving around it, now tell how can you treat that as a magnetic atom? If the atom is not magnetic, the substance cannot be magnetic in an elementary form. Similarly, compound, different kinds of atoms are come together, and if individual atoms are magnetic, combination may go also for magnetic, but the origin is from the same atomic level, right. So, then now how you are telling that this atom is possessing the magnetic behavior? Why it is having a magnetic behavior? The electrons are revolving. Let us say this electron is moving, it is moving around its own axis, that is due to spin, and also it is moving around the axis of the nucleus, both simultaneously, like planets revolving around the sun, right. It is moving around the axis passing through the nucleus, as well as they are moving around their own axis, and this is the spin motion, this is the orbital motion. Two kinds of motion are there for electrons. So, orbital motion constitute current or not? The orbital motion of the electron will constitute current or not? There is rate of flow of charge and there will be current. So, it is equivalent to a current loop, right, current carrying loop. The orbit of the electron is equivalent to a current carrying loop, and every current carrying loop is a magnet, right. Every current carrying loop is a magnet having both two poles, dipole, north and south, and you know how to get the north pole and south pole. If here is a current carrying loop, let the current is going in this direction, then two poles are there, north and south, then it is a magnet or not? Obviously, it is a magnet, right. So, when the electron is revolving around the nucleus in the orbit, each orbit is treated to be a magnet, right. So, if it is like that, then it may happen, let us say there are 2 or 3 orbits and 2 or 3 electrons, whatever it may be, right. Similarly, when the electron is revolving around its own axis, there is also current, it is rotating, right. So, that spin motion is also causing a magnetic effect or not? The spin motion is also constitute the magnetic effect. So, now total angular momentum that you are telling, what is total? Spin plus orbital, right, spin motion plus orbital motion constitute the total angular momentum. So, both spin and orbital motion is responsible for the magnetic field or magnetic current, current due to their motion. So, then now if let us say for example, this is here is an electron which has both spin as well as orbital component, and let the net magnetic field is coming in this direction, let us say it be B1 due to electron number 1, right. Similarly, another electron will do the same thing, it has also its own magnetic field, let the magnetic field because of other electron is in this direction, let us say B2. Similarly, if there are 10, 11, 100, any number of electrons are there, right. So, every electron when revolving around the nucleus is having a net magnetic field, because they are treated to be a magnetic dipole, right. So, now if you find out the sum of these vectors B1 up to Bn, that n is the number of electrons involved, right. So, the vector sum may be 0, may not be 0 vector, right. The net sum of the B's for all electrons inside that atom, the vector sum may be a 0 vector, may not be a 0 vector. So, if it is equal to 0 vector, then it is not a magnetic substance, right. It is non-magnetic, because there is no net magnetic field, or in terms of magnetic moment also, if this is an orbit which is a magnet, then it has magnetic moment or not. Let us say M1, due to first electron it is M1, if it is a magnet, magnetic moment is must. How much small thickness it may be, but there is magnetic moment, right. There are two poles, in between them there is some length, so it is a magnet, and if it is a magnet, then it must have magnetic moment. So, similarly, when many electrons are there, each and every electron must have magnetic moment, and if you add them all, then what will happen? M1 plus M2 up to let us say Mn, then it will be either 0 vector or non-zero vector, right. Either it will be 0 vector or non-zero vector. So, if it is 0 vector, then it is a non-magnetic atom or molecule, right. If the net movements created by electrons revolving around the nucleus either for an element or for a compound, every case the electrons are revolving around the nucleus, right. So, if the net magnetic moment for an atom or the molecule cancel out, so that you are getting 0 magnetic moment, then they are called as the non-magnetic atoms or molecules, right. But if it is not equal to 0 vector, suppose the net, when you add the moments, the net vector sum is not equal to 0, then there is some magnetic moment, net magnetic moment is there for the atom or the molecule. So, when there is net magnetic moment for an atom or the molecule, then what you will tell there? There must be a magnet, because the cause of the magnet is the magnetic moment. If magnetic moment is 0 vector, then it is not a magnet at all. but so long as there is magnetic moment, you must have to tell that there is a magnet. So, if this sum is giving to be equal to m, that means what? Even if you are adding all these magnetic moment for all the electrons involved there, is giving a net magnetic moment. So, if the net magnetic moment means what? That will be treated as a magnet. Magnet means it must have dipole. So, therefore, atoms are represented by this type of dipoles, magnetic dipoles, every atom, if it is magnetic, right. If a atom is magnetic or molecule is magnetic, then the magnetic dipoles are represented by this small arrow. Then now think about a system or object or any material. How will you know whether it is a magnetic material or non-magnetic material? There are two kinds of materials. Some are magnetic and some are non-magnetic. Again, magnetic is dia, para, ferro, antiferro, various kinds, right. But first is magnetic, non-magnetic. All the materials are not magnetic or all the materials are not non-magnetic, and magnetic origin is from the atomic and molecular level. So, when you are taking any material and ask whether it is a magnetic substance or non-magnetic substance, how can you answer? You have to know the magnetic moment, otherwise you can never tell. So, the magnetic moment is a parameter which will tell you that the substance is a magnet or non-magnetic substance. If atoms are magnetic, material must be magnetic. If molecules are magnet, automatically the material is magnetic. So, when the atoms are magnetic, the material is magnetic. When the molecules are magnetic, then also the material is magnetic, because there are two kinds of materials, either it is element or compound. Compound goes for molecules, element goes for the atoms. So, when the atom or molecules are magnetic, the material will be magnetic. When the atoms and molecules are non-magnetic, then the material is non-magnetic, right. So, then now if you are telling iron is magnetic substance, then why? Forget about ferro, dia, para, but you are telling iron is a magnetic substance, right. What does it indicate? Why iron is a magnetic substance? Because it has magnetic dipoles or magnetic moment, right. Iron atom is having magnetic moment. So, if you take a piece of iron, net magnetic moment from all the atoms must have a net magnetic moment, that is why it is a magnet. So, iron is a magnetic substance. Similarly, there are some elements which are non-magnetic. Non-magnetic means atom is non-magnet, right. If that atom is non-magnet and you will take that substance, obviously that substance will also be non-magnetic, right. So, when it is magnetic substance, that means atoms and molecules are magnetic. When it is non-magnetic substance, atoms and molecules are non-magnetic. Non-magnet and magnets are defined by only magnetic moment. The parameter which can only tell that a substance is magnetic or not, that is the magnetic moment. If there is magnetic moment, the substance must be magnetic. If there is no magnetic moment, then the substance cannot be magnetic, it must be a non-magnetic substance, right. So, then now, so this is about the general definition of a magnet and origin of the magnet from the atomic level. But again, you see, when you are telling spin motion, orbital motion, they are all quantized. So, you are dealing with quantum mechanics, not classical, right, they are all quantized. So, everything, these magnetic fields are also quantized, because the atomic structure itself is dealing with quantum mechanics, never classical, everything is quantum. So, the field concept there also deals with the quantum mechanics, not classical, right. Quantum means small, you are dealing with small or element, this minute particles like atom, electron, proton, all those things, and the field associated with them are also very small, they are not that strong, right. Electron is having magnetic field when revolving around a nucleus, but that field is not that strong. But can any field strength is possible for an electron, or they are quantized? Like electron cannot revolve in any orbit, right. If electron cannot revolve in any orbit, that is why you are telling orbits are quantized. Then what about the field strength created by the electron when it is revolving? There are some specific values only. The magnetic fields created by the electrons in the orbits are also quantized. right? The field strengths created by the electrons when revolving around the orbits are also quantized. Similarly, the protons are also quantized. Because of spin motion also they are quantized. That is why there are different quantum numbers. Spin quantum number is there, orbital angular momentum quantum number is there, and the total angular momentum quantum number is there. Total means sum of orbital plus spin. So, when you are dealing with these atoms, you are dealing with quantum mechanics, never classical. Classical approach is not viable to explain all the phenomena relevant to the atoms or molecules. Everything is quantum problem. So, you have to use to solve the problem by what? How can you solve the quantum problem? Yes. So, if you want to explain the problem, may it be electric field or any other phenomena relevant to atom, then you must have to solve the Schrodinger's wave equation to get the solution, right. So, that same way the orbital angular momentums are calculated, spin angular momentums are calculated, all the calculations are dealing with the Schrodinger's wave equation. You know about the hydrogen atom, have you read it or not? Quantum mechanical approach of hydrogen atom. So, there everything is coming, all the quantum numbers, S, J, L, they are the quantum numbers. N, how many quantum numbers? 4 quantum numbers relevant to an atom. Principal quantum number, azimuthal quantum number, L relates to angular momentum, then spin quantum number, other one is principal, N, azimuthal is L, angular momentum, right. The third one is spin, M is magnetic, right, magnetic quantum number, and it is must, right. That is why quantum means, quantized means what? They are occurring discretely or continuously? Discretely. That is why you are telling they are quantized, right. Like the energy of the electrons are quantized, because the energy of the electron can never be continuous. That is why orbits are discontinuous, right. So, the N is also again relevant to what? This N, L, M, S, there is a relation among them or not? These 4 quantum numbers, N is the principal quantum number, L is the azimuthal quantum number, M is the magnetic quantum number, and this S is the spin, and there is a relation among these quantum numbers to satisfy the structure of the atom. If N equal to, let us say 1, then what are the values for L? Can any value of L is possible? How many values are there? If N equal to 1, or sorry, let us say L equal to 1, what is the relation between N and L? Is there any relation or not? Because N are fixed, any value of N is not possible, right. So, then L is fixed or any value of L is possible? Any value is not possible, because they are also quantized, right. So, but when they are revolving in the orbit, that is the cell, you tell us it is the K cell. K cell means what? N equal to 1, right. But when you are telling N equal to 1, that is the K cell, they have subcells also, and those subcells are defined by what? L or not? Those subcells are represented by which quantum number? Orbital angular momentum quantum number or azimuthal quantum number, because their orientations are different, right. The energy of each cell is same, but what about the subcell? Subcell are having same energy as that of the cell or different? Suppose an electron is revolving in the K orbit, its energy is fixed or different? Fixed, right. But this electron may have subcells also, right. This electron which is revolving here is having only cell or subcells are also there. SPDF or what? From where you are getting this SPDF, you tell? How you are getting SPDF? Depending on what value? Yes, depending on the value of L. What is that L then? Angular momentum, right. So, when you are telling subcells are associated with a cell, they are defined by the quantum numbers L. When L equal to 1, it is which subcell? Then L equal to 2, Then which is your S cell? A subcell. Then what is the relation between N and L? What is the relation between N and L? Huh? If L equal to 0, still there is a cell or not? That is your S subcell. Then what is the relation? So how many numbers? I am asking the numbers. If L equal to 0, N equal to 1, what are the possible values of L? If N equal to 2, so how many we are getting? 2. So what is the general relation then? There should be a general relation between N and L. These are the values. How many numbers I am asking? If N equal to 1, how many subcells are possible? 2. When L equal to 2, how many are there? 2 or 3? Then it is 3, not 2. Right? It is 3. So then what is the general relation now? How many numbers means how many numbers? 2L plus 1. Right? If it is 0, 0 plus 1. If it is 1, 3. If it is 2, 5. But if N equal to 1, whatever may be the number of subcells, the energy of those subcells are also same as the cell or different. Subcells are also having energy or not? Subcells are also having energy. So if suppose for example, if let us say L cell is having a quantum number 2, N equal to 2, how many subcells are there? Hydrogen problem is solved or not? It is simple problem, others are very complicated. The simplest one is the hydrogen atom quantum problem, where all these quantum numbers are coming, and there also it is explained how this N, L, M, S are related, because this hydrogen spectra can only be explained in terms of these quantum numbers, and there is a definite relation among them. They should have to be satisfied. Then only the hydrogen problem can be solved. Otherwise, you cannot explain the hydrogen spectra. What is the LS coupling? You know about it or not? LS coupling, what is that coupling? It will be L plus or minus S, right? That depends on the direction, whether it is added or subtracted. So if you consider all these quantum numbers, then only you can understand the hydrogen atom and the spectra, because any transition is not feasible. It should satisfy the quantum relation, and if the quantum relation is not satisfied, there is no transition, no spectral line. So whatever spectral lines you are getting in the hydrogen spectra are most satisfying the transition rule as per the quantum mechanics. That is quantum mechanical rule, selection rule, right? Selection rule is quantum mechanical rule. If it is not satisfied, then you can never get a spectral line, or that is why all transitions are not feasible. If the selection rule is satisfied, then only that kind of transition is there, otherwise not there. And that is the reason why you are getting some lines in all the series, right. So now anyway, now you know that the atom is a magnet or non-magnet. Two things may happen: atom may be a magnet or a non-magnet, right. If it is a magnet, that substance is magnetic. If a non-magnet, then the substance will be non-magnetic, right. Then now if I will ask you, tell me, I will give you a substance and tell me whether it is a magnet or a magnetic substance. How to answer? I will give you a substance and ask you, tell me whether it is a magnetic substance or a magnet. There is difference, right. Magnet is not a magnetic substance, but the magnetic substance can be a magnet, right. There is a difference. Magnet is not a magnetic substance, but the magnetic substance can be a magnet, not all the time. Then if a substance is given to you and asked, tell whether it is a magnet or a magnetic substance, how will you answer? But how to know there is magnetic movement? That is the question. I will just give a piece of material. I will just give you a piece of material and ask, tell me whether it is a magnet or magnetic substance. Of course, I have not given non-magnetic substance, right. I have given a substance which is magnetic, but whether it is a magnet or a magnetic substance, how to identify? Because magnet is not a magnet is a magnetic substance or not? Yes, magnet is a magnetic substance, but magnetic substance is not all the time not a magnet, right? Magnetic substance is not a magnet all the time. It can be induced, temporary magnet. Magnetic substance can be a temporary magnet, not permanent, but magnet means it is permanent, 2 poles are there. So then how to identify whether the substance is magnet or magnetic substance? Let us say, I will tell, let us say it is a piece of iron. What is that now? It is a magnetic substance, right? But does it have magnetic movement? Iron is a magnetic substance, but what is the magnetic movement of that piece of iron? If magnetic movement is there, then automatically it is a magnet, right? But what happens here? Every atom is a dipole, so the net magnetic movement is 0 vector. They are closed loops, they are forming closed loops like electric dipole. So what is the net magnetic movement? It is 0 vector, but dipoles are there, magnetic poles are there, right? But the net magnetic movement of all those magnets, atomic magnets, are constituting a 0 vector. 0 vector means net magnetic movement is neutralized, 0 vector. But if I will apply the magnetic field, what will happen? If magnetic field is applied, then it is getting energy. Out of the field it will get energy, and these closed loops will break and open and align, right? They will break and align, and here if it is north, it is south, they will be aligned in this way. So ultimately this side will be one north pole and this side will be south pole, and that is now a magnet. So long as this field is there, it is a magnet. If you remove the field, again it is a magnetic substance, but cannot be a magnet. Then what kind of magnet it is? Magnetic substance can be a temporary magnet, but can never be permanent. But when we are telling a magnet, it is all the time permanent because it has permanent 2 poles, right? But here the poles are induced by the field. So the magnetic substance are having temporary magnets, but not permanent. Induced magnets, you can induce it with the application of the magnetic field. So when a magnetic substance is kept in the magnetic field, it will be a temporary magnet. When the field is taken away, again it will convert it to a magnetic substance. No more it is a magnet. Then what kind of magnet it is? Temporary. If field is there, it is a magnet. No field, no magnet. Because when field is there, there will be magnetic pole alignment. So one side will get north, other side will get the south. 2 poles are there, so hence it is a magnet, and magnetic movement will be there. But if the field is not there, it is not a magnet, but a magnetic substance, right? That is why the magnetic substances are temporary magnets. Only when the field is there, it will behave as a magnet, otherwise it is a magnetic substance, not a magnet. So the magnetic substances are temporary magnets. It will be converted to a magnet only with the application of the magnetic field, right? So similarly, when we are telling this current carrying conductor also, there is a magnetic field. Magnetic field means 2 poles are there, otherwise you can never get any field, magnetic field. Once you are telling magnetic field, there must be a magnet, right? There must be a magnet, and magnet means 2 poles. So you have to locate where the 2 poles are, how you are getting the field and why, right? When there is a current carrying conductor, it will be treated as a magnetic, static magnetic field is created, but how and why it is coming like that? If there is a steady magnetic field, it is equivalent to a magnet, permanent magnet, right? Then if permanent magnet, where is the north pole, where is the south pole, and what is the magnetic movement? So try to understand these things. We will next class discuss about this magnetostatics, but relevant to this current carrying conductor.